So, when did counseling stop being about problem solving? Well, not anymore. Introducing solution-focused counseling with the unlicensed counselor. And now, here's your host, Steve Moak.
Well, hello and welcome to another episode of The Unlicensed Counselor. My name is Steve Moak. I am the Unlicensed Counselor, and as always, so grateful to be here on a nice, still a little hot Scottsdale, Arizona day. But again, like I like to say, we see a light at the end of the tunnel, and it's going to start cooling down. It's college football season. I think tonight the NFL starts back. Just a good time of year to be alive, and we know we've got cooler temps coming. Personally, I'm looking forward to a little ski season, getting back out there and taking my daughter out on the slopes. But again, that's not why you tune in to the Unlicensed Counselor podcast. Got a fun one I want to dig into today. You know, like I always say, you know, these topics that I bring to kind of your eyes and ears are just things that we all know, that we've all had passing thoughts about. But I like to kind of throw them back up to your conscious and kind of chew on it a little bit more. And today's topic is around trust. So what is trust? Why is it so important? How do you earn trust? How does someone lose trust? Signs of a trusting person. So again, we all kind of inherently know it, but have you ever kind of given it a little deeper thought about why you should trust someone, how you trust the people that you do, and why you don't trust some of the people that you don't? So, you know, again, nothing necessarily earth-shattering, but maybe you've got a couple people in your life right now where you're kind of like in that little iffy kind of gray area, like, do I trust, do I not trust? Why do I feel that way? What's giving me that kind of vibe? Let's dig into that a little bit more. And you may just kind of breathe some life into some of the thoughts around some of the people that you do trust, or maybe some people that you do and maybe you shouldn't. So anyways, we got a little shakeup at the top of the batting order on our sponsors today. We're actually moving our friends at Buzzbin Media up to the top of the list. Buzzbin Media, this is trash can advertising. It doesn't get much more simpler to that. The beauty of Buzzbin Media is that they pay you up to $10 per month to put decals, basically stickers on the side of your trash cans. Think about that. You get your Netflix account paid for by simply putting a trash can advertising decal on the side of your bin. Go to buzzbinmedia.com, BUZ1Z media.com, and sign up. Cost you nothing. Cancel anytime. I've had a lot of people ask me about this. They're like, is this the real deal? Is this true? Is this like any catches to it? No, it's literally that easy. Go to buzzbinmedia.com, sign up. There's a new resident form. We're getting ready to kick off in your area coming soon, and you'll be getting an email when we're ready to start shipping some decals, and we pay you to put ads on the side of your bin. Pretty cool and unique little idea, I think. And again, pay for your Netflix, right? Like, why not? Next up, I like to plug the nonprofit work that I do. We're actually just releasing a whole new batch of content as well, too. Go to the StopStartsHere.org. Again, parents, take a look at our Parents Prevention Playbook. This is packed full of really good stuff on how to prevent your son or daughter from ever starting to use drugs. Take a look at some of our social media stuff. Our co-founder, Seth Leaps, and a personal friend of mine, we've actually interviewed him on the show as well, too. Just had a opinion piece published in the Washington Times? I don't read as many newspapers, but it is a tremendously well-written piece. He is a thought leader in this industry. I encourage you to take a look. We posted it on a bunch of the social media platforms, so give that a follow as well. Last but not least, me, the Unlicensed Counselor. Give me a follow on all the places where you follow me on social media stuff. And give us a follow on the YouTube, because then you're going to see a lot of clips. Maybe you don't have time for the whole 20, 30-minute show. You can find clips posted on YouTube. Give us a follow there as well, too. Pretty simple and straightforward. And again, subscribe to the podcast wherever you find your finer podcast, because I'd like to think we fall into that category as well, too. So, all right, back to the topic at hand. So what is trust? Have you thought about it? I mean, I know we just all kind of feel it. I pulled up a quote, actually, from Warren Buffett. I think we all know who Warren Buffett is, that I was going to kick off the top of the show. Trust is like the air we breathe. When it's present, nobody really notices. When it's absent, everybody notices. And, I read a lot of different quotes, and that one kind of stuck out to me because it's just like, I can't always put my finger on it, but I know it when I see it or feel it or kind of experience it. And that's kind of the way that I think trust really can operate. But let's dig into it a little more detail, a little more tangible about what is trust. And really, it's kind of the firm belief in reliability, truth, ability, strength in someone or something. It's the foundation of relationships for both personal and professional, and it allows for mutual respect, openness, and collaboration. And candidly, without trust, relationships break down, you get into conflicts, you have insecurities, and it's just all the inefficiencies of relationship kind of break down when you don't have that foundation of trust. So, I know we all inherently know why trust is important, but I want to get into exactly why you think you feel that way. And the number one thing on the importance of trust is the safety and security that it can provide. It allows us to feel safe, secure, knowing that that person will act in our best interest, right? So if you confide in a friend, for example, knowing that they're going to protect your best interests and not gossip and do things, behind your back. The other thing is, if you have trust, I think you can resolve conflict a little bit easier as well, too. So when you have the trust between two people, it enables kind of that open communication. It makes it easier to resolve conflict because you can kind of work through these things as well, too. And really, trust is essential. Trust is the cornerstone of business. It's the cornerstone of professional, personal relationships, every interaction, every communication, every initiative, every work project, every anything really feels like it needs to be based or founded on that trust. Otherwise, things can kind of go astray, and go astray relatively quickly as well, too. So now that we've kind of set the baseline around what trust kind of is, how do you earn trust? You hear that, you got to earn trust. It's like those things always kind of go together. Well, how do you earn trust? Trust is really earned through time. That's the number one thing. It's that being consistent. It's having those trustworthy actions and behaviors that kind of align and doing what you say you're going to do. It involves being reliable, being honest, and showing empathy as well, too. So that is how, if you're like, hey, I want someone to be able to trust me, if you're doing those types of things or behaviors, you're going to start, consciously, subconsciously start earning the trust of that individual. And I think that's really going to help facilitate a better relationship over time. Now, an example of this would be a friend who's always showing up on time and doing exactly what they say they're going to do. When they offer to help you move and they show up and they do it, they don't cancel on you in the last minute, and they're always doing what they say they're going to do. It's that consistency, that reliability that really helps earn that trust. And look, I had a situation with the ex-wife, where it's just like the unreliability leads to such frustration. You're just like, every single day we make plans and then I'm like waiting for the phone call of what's going to get canceled, what's going to get changed. And it's like, I'm trying to trust this person, and inherently I feel like I should trust this person, but they never deliver on what they say they're going to do. They're wildly unreliable, and I'm left hanging. So I find myself in this paradox, even in our co-parenting relationship. I'm not putting this person down, but the unreliability factor is like, wait, I say I trust you. In my heart, I feel like I trust you, but none of your actions line up to somebody that should be trusted, right? So you get into these situations and I'm like, am I crazy? Am I being gaslit? Maybe we'll do a whole other episode on gaslighting at some point in time as well, too. But next up on how to earn trust is probably the most easy one to think. It's just being honest, right? So being transparent, being truthful. And that's especially when it's uncomfortable as well, too. So this helps in really earning that trust. I think that I earn as much trust with anybody when you just have to be candid and you're not tiptoeing. And I'm not saying you have to be blunt, but you have to be almost painfully honest sometimes. But and I have friends, when I think of conversations that I have, that they'll just come out and say kind of what needs to be said. And sometimes maybe you're younger in your professional career or things like that. You kind of want to soft shoe around things, kind of tiptoe around things that kind of, then when I look back and the people that I really respect the most are like, look, this is what it is, right? And it's very matter of the fact, but I trust them and they're honest to a point. And even if that's tough to hear, and even if it makes me a little uncomfortable, like I know that there's certain people in my mind that I'm thinking of right now where I'm like, I know they're always going to tell me the truth. I may not always like it. Sometimes I may not even like their delivery of it necessarily, but I know it's the truth. And therefore I trust them, and I trust them 100%. Another way to kind of earn some trust with individuals too is kind of having some vulnerability, some empathy along the way. And what this does is it really shows some understanding that helps others see you as a genuine kind of person, as trustworthy. When you have those types of characteristics, people tend to be more trusting as well too. So pause and take a look at yourself as you're listening to this somewhere and go, am I displaying vulnerability and empathy? Otherwise you may be putting out a vibe that isn't necessarily kind of conducive to being a trusted person. So it's just one of those things where you could kind of take a quick look at yourself and be like, hey, is this something that I'm doing? Is this how I'm acting? Is this how I'm behaving? Are these traits that I'm kind of putting out to the world? To make sure that I would think that most of us want to be a trusted person. I know I do. I want my daughter to have those things. I'm sure my friends, feel the same way as well too. Otherwise, they probably wouldn't be my friends. But, make sure that what you're doing is kind of also giving off the vibes. I've used that word a little more time than I should have, but maybe it's the trend these days, so that you can be a trusted person as well, too. So those are a couple little nuggets on just how to make sure that you are or can be earned as a trusted person. Now, how do you lose trust? We always hear lose trust. You earn trust, you lose trust. Like these things always, it's like the phrases when you talk about trust. So how does someone lose trust? I know it kind of seems simplistic, but have you ever thought about specifically some of the actions, thoughts, behaviors in terms of how someone can lose trust? It can be easily lost too. And it's funny, like even I could trust somebody for years, but then they do something so egregious where it's a lie, it's just like, and you find out, and it's hard to reconcile. Like, holy cow, this person that I have trusted without question for potentially years or decades now just said such a lie that you have to stop and kind of start to gather yourself almost and go, okay, what's really going on? I need to reconcile because now I don't think I trust this person, right? So, when someone's actions show that inconsistency, when their words aren't matching their actions, or they're just dishonest, they flat out lied, maybe they lack that empathy that we were just talking about, you're going to go from potentially a super trusted person to I don't trust you at all so quickly, and it can be because of a single misstep. But that's how fragile really trust can be. And I think that's something that we need to think about as well, too, is that, you can have it and lose it so damn quickly. And I'm not sure if we all think about just that one thing that we say, and maybe you don't really fully think about the repercussions, or maybe it was a little white lie, or you stretched it out a little bit. But the ramifications, if somebody finds out that you're lying, you're now in that category of people I don't really trust. And that hurts. Like if somebody were to say that to your face, like, I'm sorry, I don't trust you. I'd be like, wow. Like that, wouldn't that hit pretty hard to be like, wow, I don't trust you? I'd be like, that kind of shocked me to my core. I would think I've been called a lot of things, but I think I'm pretty darn trustworthy in my own opinion. But if you're someone who's breaking promises, if you're breaking commitments, if you fail to do what you say you're going to do, you fail to follow through, that trust can deteriorate, and can deteriorate if it's a continued pattern of behavior permanently. And this is honestly, this is something I'm struggling with in my own life with my ex-wife. Again, I trust her, but the reliability factor of, hey, we're going to meet here at this time, or she's going to go to this activity, and you're going to pick her up, and I'm going to do her, whatever it is. I regularly get calls of, I can't do this, busy, work, this, that, and the other. And recently it's been, your daughter was sick, and it's like, this happened over the course of last year where she was sick, quote unquote, a lot, and was missing a decent amount of school. It's pre-K. I'm not going to go crazy here, but it got to a point where it was happening so regularly, which I think was her wanting to spend more time with her because she's busy at work and, that kind of thing. And I'm just like, well, now I don't know if she's actually sick, or this is just one of those times where maybe she wanted to stay home or they wanted to do something else. So it leads to this kind of second guessing, these challenging situations, and this just unreliability that is super frustrating. And now I'm kind of putting you into this, I just can't count on you bucket. I don't feel like I've crossed the bridge to I can't trust you because you're still raising my daughter. And on the big things, I think I still trust you. But you've now moved into this bucket where it's like, I can't count on you. Is that broken? It's definitely broken trust, but it's like, boy, I'd hate to, if it were me on the other side of this, I'd be doing everything I can to be like, hey, sorry, that was an old pattern of behavior. I apologize. I recognize it. I understand it now. Going forward, this is what it's going to look like. Otherwise, it's just like, wow, this is kind of how you operate, and it can be a little bit surprising. In terms of losing trust, to piggyback on this example, I don't feel like it's as much dishonesty, which is obviously a huge way to kind of lose trust. And that could be lying. It can also be hiding information, right? It's the lying by omission, exactly what we've talked about. Even small instances of this erodes trust, enormously. All those little things and things that you don't think I caught, but I talked to your friend, or I saw the post, or you were over here, you said you were going to do something. It's like, what? Like, why? Why? And it just leaves me head scratching. And again, on my example, I don't feel like there's a dishonesty here. It's just this repeated pattern of not doing what you say you're going to do. So I'm kind of putting it into the bucket of unreliability, but that's knocking on the door of I just can't trust you. I can't trust you to do what you say you're going to do. I can't trust you to be where you say you're going to be, even though I purely believe that your intentions are good, and I genuinely believe that. Your actions don't match up. Where does that leave me? It leaves me waiting, somewhere a half hour regularly going, I thought we said 4 o'clock. It's 4:30 now, and I'm just going, and then what happens, because an unlicensed counselor is not perfect, I get frustrated and angry or send a text that I don't, it's not my perfect moment. But when it happens so much and you hit that wall, you're just like, okay, all right, what am I supposed to do now, right? And I'm the mean person or bad person because I responded after the 10,000th time of not doing what you say you're going to do. This is good stuff. This is a purge for me today, Robin. I don't know. But look, dishonesty, obviously the number one thing that can just put you into that line, into that, untrustworthy category. And again, omission, hiding, leaving out information is the same as lying. Let's be very clear on that. There's no gray area when it comes to this. If you're leaving out the part that's really important that could help, do some, that is what we need to know. And if you're not doing that, you're in the dishonest bucket and you're untrustworthy. And next up, lack of accountability. So, how can I trust someone, right, if you're not accountable to doing what you say you're going to do, if you're not responsible for the actions of yourself and you're constantly blaming others? I run into this all the time when things go wrong. You're just blaming, you're pointing the finger. I'm work, I'm busy, I got ADD, I got this, I got that. And I'm like, I get it. I'm sorry. That's frustrating. You've got a lot going on in your life, in your world. I'm sympathetic to it. We're divorced. And you said we're going to do this. We have a parenting plan that says we're going to do this. And we shouldn't, and we rarely ever have to kind of go to the parenting plan type of thing in order to kind of resolve things because we're two civil people who get along and all that kind of stuff for the most part. But it's like, look, if you're blaming others and all these things that tend to happen regularly, we've got to get a little more organized in your world because all I need to do is hear what you say you're going to do, be where we need to be, and then we'll keep this thing smooth. And by the way, that keeps our relationship much better, all right? I mean, these are, ex-wife and stuff. That stuff can get pretty bad, and I think that we've done a pretty good job. The first year a little bumpy. There was some other stuff you've listened to the show along the way that you can probably heard about. But that first year is a little bit bumpy. But year two, it starts to smooth out, and I think it's good for both of us. But if we fall into these patterns where I can't trust you because you're blaming others, you're not taking accountability for the things and the schedules that you create, the information that you communicate out to, now we're going to start falling into old patterns, and then that's no good for anybody, let alone our 4-year-old daughter as well, too. So, interesting. So, how about this now? So, what are some signs of a trustworthy person as well, too? I think a lot of us probably feel this way. I feel like I have a good judge of if someone's trustworthy or if they have good character and things like that. But I was like, do I just go with your gut? And I think going with your gut is important. I think that is right most of the time. But there are some real con artists, scams, shady, lying people out there in the world who are pros at kind of obfuscating who they are, and what their intentions are. So let's dig into, what an actual good, trustworthy person could and should look like. And that starts with openness and honesty, right? So trusting people are more transparent in their words and actions. They're willing to kind of share information more freely. They'll talk about their feelings. Like, those are signs of someone who should be able to start earning some trust. And I don't think trust, again, is earned in just an instance, in an encounter. I mean, obviously there's some time and that kind of consistency of doing what you say you're going to do that ultimately, in my book, kind of puts you on that very trustworthy pedestal. But I think that if you are communicating with someone, they're talking about their feelings, they're doing what they say they're going to do, their words and actions are matching up, it's like, okay, this person's displaying the characteristics of being a trusting person, and that's someone that I'm willing to invest more time and more into a relationship with. I think it goes also back to the point we discussed earlier around vulnerability. So trusting people are more comfortable showing vulnerability and admitting some mistakes as well, too. Hey, look, I'm sorry. I know I said I was going to be there. I had something come up. It was last minute. It was really important. It was my boss. I had to do it. I couldn't do it. I am sorry. It won't happen again. I'll do a better job of communicating that out. Stuff happens. That shouldn't fully negate being a trusting person. But I think if somebody came to me and be like, look, we had a call, I had a business trip that I had to get out of town. It came up last second. I apologize. And that, in fact, this just happened in my own personal life. It was like we had a meeting, got out of town. No big deal. Got on the phone with them. Excellent A+ person. But, being able to share vulnerably, right? They kind of talk about some mistakes and kind of the humility that goes along with that. I think those are signs that someone can be trusted as well, too. And then next on the list is that reliability. And I would almost say, in my trusting scale, the reliability is probably the number one on my thing of being a trustworthy person and how someone earns trust as well, too. Your scale may be different, and that's totally fine. But reliability of being dependable, being consistent, always following through and doing what they say they're going to do, not blaming the other people, to me, you're showing me who you are, the kind of character, integrity, and person that you are, and that's someone that I'm like, okay, I trust them. If they say this is what happened, then that's what happened, and I don't have to second guess that and wonder, it's like, were they really just hungover? Were they getting out of the office early? Were they just were they blowing me off? Like that reliability thing, that's like number one. And again, reliability happens over time, doing it, showing up, being on time, all those types of things. And that, to me, is really kind of one of the biggest foundations of people that I trust, right? And that really happens over time. The next thing I had on the list of a trusting person was that non-judgmental type, right? So trusting people tend to avoid jumping to conclusions, giving others the benefit of the doubt. This is a skill I've had to work on personally, because sometimes I could come down a little hard, right? Because, again, I feel like I'm a pretty good judge of character and trust and all that type of stuff. And if I see a misstep along the way, I could kind of pounce a little bit and close the door on that person or rule them out or kind of push them off to the side and things like that. Once you've shown me over time that you are that consistent, trustworthy, honest, vulnerable, non-judgmental type of person, like I can give you a little grace, right? I can give you a little benefit of the doubt, right? And go, you know what? They've earned that. Like, they have been solid, right? And you know what? They've got some stuff going on in their life. Maybe they're going through divorce. Maybe they got some stress or family member passed away. Like, stuff happens. Let's give a little grace and avoid jumping to that conclusion. They're a flake. Can't trust them. Move them off to the side. Let's just make sure we slow our roll a little bit as a non-judgmental person. And I want to show that, I can give some grace. I still trust you. Stuff comes up. I don't want to jump to conclusions. Hopefully you're not jumping to conclusions if I have to do something last second as well, too. So just little things to think about in terms of, trusting people and how to find a trustworthy person. Now let's flip the script a little bit and talk about maybe the people who are not trustworthy. And, it's, again, one of those things where I feel like we inherently know, but I want to be able to know and know why. Like, I want to be able to read the signs a little bit better, and then I can maybe weed out some of the people who are a little bit shadier as well, too. And number one would be inconsistency in actions and words, right? So those things not matching up. A person who frequently says one thing but does another is unreliable. I mean, I wouldn't trust that person if you're saying one thing and doing another. And that's one of those where it's like, if it's intentional and flagrant and you do that, I'm not giving you 3 strikes. You know, that may be a 1-strike situation. I'll try and give a little grace if you have shown me over time. But if it's egregious and now you're saying one thing and doing another, I'm like, And it sounds bad, but I kind of keep a running list of these folks in my head too. I mean, I don't know if I intentionally do it, but I know it. I'm like, wait a second. I know what you said to me last time, and I know what you turned around and you did. I know that, right? So I'll give you maybe a little bit more. Maybe it was a bad day. Maybe something else was going on in your life. I can show a little grace. But you're on the watch list, right? Inconsistency in actions and words is a huge red flag. Number 2 is avoidance of responsibility. So if someone constantly shifts the blame, refuses to take responsibility or accountability for their actions, it's a huge red flag for that trustworthiness, right? If you're pointing at everybody else or blaming every other circumstance that's going on in your life, I have sympathy for those things. But if it continues to happen, then maybe the organization in your life is not where it needs to be. And again, that's not my problem. I'm just now looking at you at a different light. And I feel bad. Like, there's certain people in my life where I'm like, oh man, that's like, it's chaotic. There's a lot going on. I'm sympathetic to that. But it doesn't mean I have to trust you because you've got all these things. You say you're going to do something, you don't do it, right? And if you're blaming somebody else or you're blaming, whatever condition that you have, but you're not advancing, getting treatment or support or help for whatever the condition is, that's a problem. That's a problem, right? So number 3 on the signs of a person we should not trust is they lack that transparency. So people who withhold information, that secretive person that we may have in our world, they're kind of hiding some of their actions. I don't trust those people. It's like all of a sudden you find out that they had some secret thing or hobby or a second wife cheating. I don't know. It's just like you thought you knew someone and then all this other information comes out. Like they're just having all the secrets around their life. And I'm like, holy cow, like I thought I knew this person. And there's no transparency kind of coming out of them, and they're withholding a lot of information and those, again, red flag city about, this person's level of trustworthiness. The next one too, and this one kind of dovetails into the social media too, is gossiping, right? That betraying of confidence. So if someone who's gossiped, they're sharing private information, maybe they're posting it on social media, they're taking your secrets and sharing them with other people when you said, hey, I don't want this to get out in the open, but, they start sharing it with another person, all of a sudden it gets back to you and you're like, what, hold on. I told you specifically that is a really embarrassing or hurtful or painful thing, and now it's getting back to me in this other roundabout way. Like, that is a person who can't be trusted. And gossiping, it is very damaging, hurtful, and painful. And I don't think we give gossip enough of the bad treatment that it deserves and just the pain that it can cause others. And that may be another topic for a show we'll put down on the list as well, too, because it's really hurtful. And it's a thing that we all do, and sometimes unbeknownst to us or don't really fully recognize the consequences of what gossiping is and what it can do to others as well, too. But again, major red flag in terms of someone you should not trust. And sometimes it takes getting burned that one time to go, oh, okay, now I know. All right, I got torched. I told you something. It got back to X, Y, and Z person. Didn't want them to hear that. Now I know that you're on my ban list of being able to trust them in any way, shape, or form, right? So, these are just some things around, again, simple topic as we kind of think about it normally. Trust. Do I trust them? Do I not trust them? They feel trustworthy. They don't feel trustworthy. But why? Look into this, and maybe some of the people that you're currently trusting, you've just always trusted kind of blindly. Maybe you need to think about a little bit more if they need to kind of be run through the filter of being a trustworthy person, and vice versa. Maybe you've always put this person, you blackballed them into the untrustworthy bucket. but maybe their actions have been consistent. Maybe they're doing what they say they're going to do. Maybe we need to revisit and see if that person now can be trusted. Maybe you can give them, almost test them with a little thing and see if they can earn that trust back. So, something to think about. It's really important. We have to have people we can trust in our life. It's important in our relationships and being able to feel supported and that you can tell someone and have the confidence that it's going to stay there. And that's both personally and professionally as well, too. So keep that in mind as you're thinking about this episode as well, too. So, as always on the Unlicensed Counselor, we take kind of big topics, try and throw you some bite-sized pieces so you can think about it right now. I always encourage folks to kind of share these episodes out to friends and family. Maybe you're struggling with some trust, or maybe you think this would be relevant to a friend or family member in your life. Go ahead and share this episode out. It really helps a podcast like us continue to keep growing. So, good stuff. Until next time, my name is Steve Moak. I am the Unlicensed Counselor. Thank you very much.